Bertie's wonderful ears. 5 times 5, said Mrs. Lyons. Mrs. Lyons talked quietly, but everyone could hear her voice very well. Everyone in the class wrote something, but Bertie did not write anything. Bertie put the end of his pencil in his mouth. What's the answer? He asked himself. He wanted to write the answer, but he could not. Bertie was not good at math. He tried hard, but he could not remember more than his 3 times table. Suddenly, Bertie's ears began to move. Sally Smith looked at Bertie and started to smile. Mrs. Lyons looked up and shouted, "Sally, what is the matter?" Sally's face went red. "Nothing, Mrs. Lyons," she said. However, Mrs. Lyons could see Bertie's moving ears. They did not move just a little bit, they moved a lot. "Bertie Wiggins," shouted Mrs. Lyons, "stop that at once. You move your ears too much. If you work harder and move your ears less, you'll be as clever as a Prince Caesar." Everyone in the class smiled because Bertie looked like a Prince Caesar. Bertie did not like the jokes about looking like a prince. "You must all watch Prince Caesar on television this evening," said Mrs. Lyons. Prince Caesar was very clever. He was good at math. He knew his times tables. Every year the king was on television with one of his children. Last year, Princess Maud played her trombone on television. This year, the king wanted Prince Caesar to say his times table. Every year, a large crowd went to watch the television show. At the end of the show, the crowd had to clap and cheer. Then the king made a long speech. He always began, "People are clever in many different ways. However, when a young person is clever, it is most wonderful." The prince and princess. Every year when Prince Caesar or Princess Maud was on television, Bertie's mom and dad would say, "Bertie, you look like a Prince Caesar, but you'll never be on television because of your moving ears." That evening, Bertie had his dinner and started doing his homework. After a few minutes, he stopped and turned on the television. A lady was speaking. "Everyone must watch Prince Caesar this evening," she said. Bertie turned the television off. He went outside and sat on the doorstep. He could hear music playing on the radio next door. Bertie began to move his ears. First, he moved the left one, then he moved the right one. Soon both ears were moving backwards and forwards to the music. Mrs. Green from next door came past with a little white dog. "That's good, Bertie," she said. "You can move your ears to the music. You're very funny." "No one else thinks so," said Bertie sadly. At that moment, a car drove slowly into Bertie's street. It stopped outside Bertie's house. A man and a woman got off the car. They walked over to Bertie. The man had a photograph. He looked at Bertie. Then he looked at the photograph. "Wonderful," he said to Bertie. Bertie's mom and dad came outside. "Who are you?" asked Bertie's dad. "We work for the king," said the woman. "Prince Caesar is ill. He has got red spots. He might have Measles. He can't be on the television show this evening. The king has ordered us to secretly find a boy to go on to the television show for Prince Caesar. This boy must look like a Prince Caesar. The woman took out a crown and put it on Bertie's head. The man held up the photograph. Bertie's mom looked at the photograph and shouted, "Oh, it's a Bertie!" "No, it's not," said the man. "It's a Prince Caesar. We need your son to take a Prince Caesar's place on the show this evening." Bertie's dad opened his mouth, then he closed it again. He was surprised. At last he said, "On television, Bertie? So we'll all be famous." "No, you won't," said the woman quickly. "No one will ever know when Bertie is on television this evening. He is the prince. It's a secret. You mustn't tell anyone." "Will we meet the king and queen?" asked Bertie's mom. "Will we get a reward?" asked Bertie's dad. "Perhaps," said the man, "but now we must take Bertie to the television studio." Bertie was worried. "Prince Caesar is going to be on television to say his timetables," thought Bertie. "I'm not good at math. I can't remember more than my 3 times table." Bertie started to shout, "But Mom, but Dad!" It was no good. Nobody listened. Before Bertie could say anymore, he was in the car with his mom and dad. They were on their way to the television studio. Bertie sat in the back of the car. He was very worried. How could he pretend to be Prince Caesar? "We are going to the television studio now," said the woman. "Bertie has to get ready, and we must do something about his ears." At last, Bertie whispered, "But Prince Caesar is clever. He always says his times tables correctly. I can do that." The woman turned round and looked at Bertie. "You don't have to be clever. We will give you all the answers," she said. "Can you read?" "Of course I can," said Bertie. "Good," said the woman. "People watching the show can't say the answers. No one will know our secret." The king was working up and down in the television studio. "I will not wait any longer," he shouted. "Haven't they found someone yet?" At the moment, Bertie's mom and dad arrived with Bertie. Bertie's dad bowed to the king. "This is Bertie," he said. "We are pleased to be able to help your majesty." The king looked at Bertie. He smiled. "It's wonderful," he said. "You can say so. Look the same. Only your ears are different. Put Caesar's crown on and hide your eyes." "But your majesty," said Bertie, "I am not Prince Caesar. I don't want to pretend to be him." "Nonsense," said the king. "You look like him. That's most important. You must listen to everyone and read the answers on the screen." It was time for the show to start. The people were in their seats. Bertie sat on a large chair. Music played. Then a man with a big smile spoke into the camera. "Good evening, everyone. Tonight we are happy to have our young prince on the show. Prince Caesar is going to say his 8 times table. What a clever boy," he said. Lights shone on Bertie. A lady with headphones counted to 5 on her fingers. Bertie heard a voice in his ear say, "Now," and Bertie was on television. Bertie felt his heart beating very fast. He looked for the answers on the screen. There they were in front of him. He coughed and began to read. 1 times 8 is 8, he said loudly. Then the screen went to black. Bertie's stomach felt strange. He wanted to be sick. He knew the next answer, so he shouted, 2 times 8 is 16. Then he asked himself, what's 3 times 8? His ears began to move. Prince Caesar's crown moved from side to side. The crown slowly slipped over Bertie's eyes. He took the crown off, and his ears stopped moving. Then the man spoke again. He was not so happy now. Well, Prince Caesar, what is 3 times 8? He asked Bertie. Bertie tried to count the answer on his fingers. He took off his shoes and socks and counted his toes as well. However, it was no good. He just did not have enough fingers and toes. 1 or 2 people shouted, come on, what is 3 times 8? Bertie felt sick. He wanted to shout, I'm not Prince Caesar, I'm Bertie Wiggins. However, he could not say a word. Then something strange happened. Bertie's ears began to move again. They moved slowly backwards and forwards. The crowd began to count. 1, 2, 3. The ears moved 24 times. 24 is exactly 3 times 8. Someone shouted, what's 4 times 8? Bertie's ears moved 32 times. His ears are right, shouted two ladies in the front row. The crowd cheered. Bertie's ears counted 10 times 8, and the crowd jumped up and down. They were very excited. The man looked at the king, then he looked at Bertie. What should I do? He asked himself. Thank you, Prince Caesar, or perhaps I should say thank you to Prince Caesar's ears, he said. Everyone laughed, but the king did not. Now the prince will say his 9 times table, he shouted. Stop it then, shouted a voice. 2 children ran across the studio. One was Princess Maud, the other was the real Princess Caesar. Now there were 2 Prince Caesars in front of the camera. Princess Maud pointed at Bertie. This is not Prince Caesar, she said. No, I'm Bertie Wiggins, said Bertie. Everyone was quiet. The king's face went red. Bertie's mom fell off her chair. Princess Maud continued. Prince Caesar is not very good at math. He hates to be on television. I hate it too. Last year I was on television. I had to pretend to play the trombone. I can't really play. The king jumped up. He began to shout, Stop the show, Caesar. You should be in bed. You're ill, Maud. Be quiet. However, Princess Maud did not stop. I painted Caesar with red spots, she said. You, shouted the king. Yes, said the Princess Maud. Yes, said the Prince Caesar. But then you found this boy to take my place on the television show. So we came here by taxi, continued Princess Maud. We had to stop this stupid show. We hate it because it makes everyone laugh at us. The king put his head in his hands. But the royal children are always on this television show. It's important, said the king. Yes, said the man. He did not look happy. What will happen to my show? He asked. I know, said Bertie bravely. Let's have a different show for children. You can invite clever children from all over the country to the show. What a good idea, said the Prince Caesar. Please, Dad, said the Princess Maud. Say yes. The king's face went white, and then it went red, then it went purple. Everyone in the studio began to clap and cheer. Well, all right, he said, but my children must be on the show too. No, Dad, said the princess, we never want to be on the show again. Then Bertie can say all his times tables, shouted the king, and he can teach everyone with his ears. Prince Caesar and Princess Maud looked at Bertie. No, thank you, said Bertie. I don't like saying my times tables. Then he smiled and moved his ears. But I like moving my ears. I like being on television. One day I will really be the star of the show, he said. The end.